Last month, I achieved an 11x ROAS on my ads, and here is exactly how I run them. And as long as you're running a business here on Instagram, then you can steal this entire strategy. Okay, super quick, I'm gonna run you through everything from top to bottom, and I'm gonna try and simplify it as much as possible. So, very first thing that you need to be aware of is that your profile acts as your landing page. Okay, so we are running profile visit ads instead of, traditional VSL ads. So in this case, much like your landing page, your profile needs to be optimized for conversion. So you need a strong bio, you need pinned posts, you need highlights, your posts on your page need to be optimized, you need stories for the people that are coming in from the ads to see and get that first impression. So that is very first thing, optimize the profile, it acts as your landing page. Now, once we have that good profile, what you'll see in this grid here is we have C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, A1, A2, A3. Now what this means is we're gonna test 5 creatives, so 5 different reels, in essence, 5 different pieces of content across 3 audiences. Now, what we are looking for is a winner. So a winner is basically the intersection of what's the best audience, what's the best creative, and then we're gonna run that as one top of funnel ad. So you're gonna take your best piece of performing content, that's likely what's gonna be the winner anyway, and you're gonna boost that with sort of paid ads. Okay, and what we're looking for is a low cost profile visit, but this is super important, not just the low cost profile visit, but also a high percentage of qualified followers. So followers that are within your ICP. That's what we're optimizing for, because those are the people who are actually likely to turn into clients. Okay, now that we have that one winning ad, we're gonna run that all the time as our top of funnel ad. This is gonna bring us constant traffic into our profile. Now, once we have that constant traffic, it's basically useless on its own. Okay, we are using it there to basically have a wide net of people who may be interested in our offer, and then we're gonna filter through them. Now, the way that we filter through them is through our profile. On our profile, we have a bunch of different touch points. Every single one is tracked with the meta pixel. Okay, so URL Genius, we're tracking people who watch our YouTube and go to our YouTube. Okay, landing page, we've got the pixel on our landing page. We're tracking people who are showing intent and have shown interest by clicking on our landing page. Okay, then we're tracking people who have looked at our booking page, who are maybe right on the edge but haven't quite booked with us. Okay, we're also tracking people who have engaged with our content, engaged with our ads, and simply visited our profile. Now, the point of tracking all of these different sort of touch points is that we can then build these buckets, which you'll see we've got buckets of people who are now much warmer, and these are people that we can then retarget. So by having that traffic coming from the top, we're then filling up our buckets with, we've got a bucket here full of people who have watched our YouTube. They're educated. Okay, we're filling up a bucket of people who have looked at our landing page. Okay, again, educated, know what our offer is. Okay, we've then got people who have engaged with our content, have maybe looked at our booking page, they're hot. So we're building up these buckets of people who are much warmer. And the key in terms of like how warm is a lead, is we're trying to take them through this awareness stage. Okay, if you target someone with an ad who's completely unaware, the chance they convert is very low. If you target someone who is offer aware, in other words, they already know the problem, they know the solution, and they know what your offer, right? That's a much better way to convert people. So ideally, we want to put our ads in front of people who are offer aware, who know what we do, know who we are, and know how we help people, because they're more likely to convert. So that is what this whole process is sort of optimized for, is basically filling up these buckets with people who are at least, problem aware, solution aware, and offer aware. That way we have these buckets that we can then retarget with more action driven ads, ads that have testimonials, ads that have, objection handling. Basically what we're doing is we're then retargeting these different buckets with ads that are catered to their specific situation. So for example, if someone has been on our booking page, we might retarget them with an ad that basically says, listen, you might be on the fence, you might have been burned before, right? Here's why we do it different. Here's a way that we would handle your objection anyway. Likewise with people who have maybe seen your YouTube, right? You might hit them with an ad that says, listen, I know you've probably had enough of me by now. I know you've seen my stuff. I know you know what we do. Here's the actual benefit of it, and you might hit them with a testimonial. The key is that we're gathering data, creating these buckets that we can then target with retargeting ads, and out the end, you get clients. Now, that was as quick as physically possible. Little rundown of basically how it works. What I will do now is I will hop onto the computer and I will show you what it actually means to set this up in terms of the Facebook Ads Manager and setting up all the custom audiences. How do we actually get the pixel on these different places? I'll run you through that all as well, and then you will have full understanding of exactly how you can implement this. All right, so now you have a decent understanding of the overall concept in terms of how we're setting up the ads. I'm gonna run you guys through exactly how you set them up step by step with the Facebook Ads Manager, with all of the embedding of the links and the meta pixel, and I'm not gonna skip anything, so you can always rewatch this if you're unsure. Now, very first thing I'm going to run you guys through. So you'll see on screen, I'm going to leave this doc in the description of this video as well, so you guys can go have a look through, because there's a lot of content here that I won't be able to explain all of it in this video. But if you do want a little bit more understanding, you can always go look through these in your own time. So first thing we're going to go through is the custom audiences setup. So you'll see, basically, this system relies on stacking engagers, visitors, and booked called audiences, then layering lookalikes to expand reach. So, for example, we're retargeting people, okay? We're wanting to target the people who have already shown intent and are warm, okay? Now, that is perfect up to a certain extent, because you can only retarget as big as your audience is, okay? So when we reach the sort of max of we retargeted everyone that is in those audiences, we then use lookalikes to basically continue scaling the ads, but hitting very similar people, because we are then targeting people who look like the people who are common to show intent, if that makes sense. Okay, so in terms of the audiences that you're going to need, well, number one is engager audiences, and this will all make a little bit more sense when I run you through how we set them up. But basically, we want 4 audiences, which are the people who have engaged with our Instagram account over the last 1 day, last 30 days, last 60 days, and last 90 days. And we're retargeting all of them. The people in the last day, we're retargeting them with just fresh content to keep them warm immediately. And then everyone else who has been basically consuming our content in the last up to 90 days, we're hitting them all with reels and testimonials to basically continuously nurture them. The whole goal of that is to keep top of mind. Our goal in terms of this ad process is to have omnipresence and to be seen everywhere, every single day by people, so that they cannot forget about us. Okay, next one is profile visitors. So people who visited our profile in the last day, they visited, we want to turn them into a follower, and it's going to be much more likely that a visitor becomes a follower if they've already visited previously, rather than targeting people who are brand new, okay? So in order to maximize the amount of profile visits that convert into follows, we retarget the people who visited our profile literally yesterday, okay, and we hit them with testimonials, case studies, results breakdowns, and this often leads to them actually coming in and becoming followers, which is what we want, because then over time they'll become nurtured. Okay, next one is booked call audiences. So the goal here is it's sort of like the hammer them approach, okay? When someone's booked a call, before they hop on a call with us, we basically want to put as many ads in front of them as physically possible. Okay, we want them to see so many testimonials. We want them to see us handling the objections before they hop on the call. Because if the more content they consume before they show up, the more likely they are to convert, and you're basically making your sales team's job like 10 times easier. So what we're going to do is we're going to track everything. We use Calendly. You can do this a few different ways, but what we're really doing is we're tracking every single person who has booked a call. Okay, so anyone who books a call on Calendly, we're then targeting them with testimonials or, you know, free value, just anything that's going to nurture them before they show up. Okay, and yeah, obviously that builds FOMO, reduces no-shows, increases your close rate. That's a given. Okay, next one is scheduling page viewers. So the people who go to book a call but then don't actually book. Okay, these people almost have the highest intent of everyone, because they were right there on the edge and they just need that extra sort of jump. So what you want to do is target them with ads that basically produce FOMO. Okay, we want to show them success stories, pain point solutions, and show that there's urgency, because these people most likely are already solution aware, which is why they were about to book a call, but then something sort of said to them, maybe not right now, maybe not now's not the right time. If we then hit them with ads that basically say, listen, I get it, you're probably on the fence, okay? And you can make these super custom, which is the key. Those then people actually end up becoming bookings, okay? So yeah, obviously the purpose here is to recover lost bookings and push them back to schedule. Right, next one is ad engagers, and this is content specific. So you're looking at specific ads and going, these ads that I've put in front of people that are potentially free value ads or testimonial ads, okay? Who are the people that have engaged with those ads? Okay, so for example, like that ad or watch 90% of that ad. Right, that's showing that they're interested, showing that they actually care about what you're promoting. And if it's an ad and they keep watching, it means that they are really, you know, most likely pretty warm. So we want to hit those people with more free value to nurture them further, make them become a follower, but also we want to retarget them with testimonials and proof, basically, okay? And again, the key with majority of these is we're going to leverage people who are already interested in your systems and processes, because if someone has watched an ad previously and has watched, for example, you can do it in Ads Manager, has watched 90% of your ad already, that means that they have, you know, a decent amount of interest because they at least kept watching. It also means that they're much more likely in your ICP, because if you're making good ads, then you should be calling out your ICP right at the start. And therefore, if they're called out and they keep watching, it's very likely they're in that ICP. So we want to retarget those people with more testimonials, more free value. Okay, and then when it comes to scaling, we're looking at lookalike audiences, and you're only really shifting to this once you've exhausted your original retargeting audiences. So this is really just used to get to the next stage if you've already exhausted those sort of custom audiences. Okay, so then what we're doing is we're creating lookalike audiences. Now I would do 2% basically either in the US or UK. That's for me. It's really just, you only want lookalike audiences in the regions that are within your ICP. So for me, I'm selling high ticket products. I'm guessing most of the people that you are as well. So we want to be targeting first world countries. US and UK are my preference, because they're obviously more likely to be qualified, more likely to be within our ICP. Okay, so again, what we're doing is we're expanding the audience by targeting IG twins, so people similar to the people who have also shown interest. So for example, the people who have engaged with our ads, okay, again, as I said, these people are likely in our ICP. Therefore, when you create a lookalike audience, you want to have a lookalike audience that is also people who are likely to engage and watch your content, because again, they're going to be in the ICP. So we want to hit them with, again, testimonial driven and free value ads. Okay, and obviously the purpose between this is to scale beyond our warm audiences whilst keeping the same quality and still hitting people that are likely to convert. Okay, there's a summary there. I'll leave it, you guys can read through it in your own time. That's the basic idea. Okay, now in terms of the ad setup and scaling examples, this is just to give you an indication of like the numbers you should be looking for and what's actually a good way to scale an ad set and scale a campaign without sort of ruining your cost per profile visit, cost per qualified follower, etc. This is basically a guide on how you can continuously scale and stay profitable. But I don't have time to go through all of that, so feel free to read it in your own time, and it should make sense based on everything I go through now. In terms of the custom audiences, that's what we're going to go through now. So I'm going to show you in the Events Manager how you would actually set this up. So to start with engagers, this is super simple. If I go to Events Manager, in fact, what I'm going to start with, just because those are super easy, I'll cover them at the end, is all of the pixel integrations. So for example, you want to have your booked call audiences, your scheduling page viewers, and in fact, one that I've missed out, but it's basically the same thing, is landing page viewers as well. So I target people who have clicked on my landing page because again, they're not going to click on a landing page if they don't at least have some form of intent. Okay, so in order to track the people who are clicking on these different places and actually then target them with ads, what we need to do is install what is called the Facebook Meta Pixel. Okay, now the first way that you can do this is through a site called URL Genius. Now what URL Genius does is allows you to first of all create a deep link. Now that deep link can be to whatever you want. Mine, I have it in my Instagram bio, and it is a link that sends people to my YouTube. And by tracking everyone who clicks that link, in essence, I'm tracking the people who have likely watched my YouTube. Now, the reason I want to target people who have watched my YouTube is because they're likely already problem aware, solution aware, and offer aware, okay? Because if they watch a full 30-minute video of me on YouTube, for example, a video like this, they know much more about what I do than some random person who I could just target completely cold, okay? So in order to do that, and the key here is that you can do that with any type of link. So any type of person that you want to target of like, I want to target the people who have clicked a link and gone here, using URL Genius is a good way to do that. So first thing you do is in the Facebook Ads Manager, okay, you're going to come over to Events Manager, okay, and what you're going to do is we need to create a data set. So if you go create, in fact, wrong one, you're going to click Connect Data, okay, then we're going to choose Web, okay, so for anything that's through either a link or a website, you're going to do it through a web, okay, we're going to go Next. Now you can either select an existing one or let's just create a new one for this example. So for example, let's just call this YouTube test so you guys can see. So we're going to create that. Then we have a data set. Now, once we have a data set, what we're going to do is we're going to link it using the pixel. So once that loads, I'll show you guys. Okay, ignore that. Google Tag Manager will work for some things. I would recommend for most of you guys, you're just going to go other ways to set up and just go up set up manually. It's not as confusing as you think. Okay, so we're going to go Meta Pixel only. Okay, we don't need the Conversions API. You guys can do your research of whether that's a good fit for you. For what we're doing here, it's not necessarily needed. So, super simple is you just need to copy this line of code that they give you and install it on your site under the header section. So I'm going to show you what that looks like in terms of code on my Lovable site, but it's exactly the same on every single platform. There will be a section on whatever website sort of builder you use that is called the header. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to copy this. Okay, and there's plenty of tutorials out there on installing a Meta Pixel, and I'll show you a good way to check that you've done it correctly anyway, but you shouldn't really get stuck. So if we're looking at code, obviously you can see there we've got head. Okay, underneath that, all I've done is literally copy and paste the Meta Pixel code. Okay, and that's literally it. I save, and then you'll see it says end Meta Pixel code here. It's just there to there, and it just needs to be under the header section on your site. So obviously I've saved that, but how do we know that it's actually working? Now, one thing you can do is you'll see it's showing up here already on my site, is use a Chrome extension called Metapixel Helper. And what this will do is when you've got it set up, okay, any site that you click on that has a metapixel, this will basically light up with a number of how many actions are on that page. So you'll see we've got 2 there. It shouldn't be working because of the lovable site, but if I went onto the website that this metapixel is on, then this would basically show up with the different events that are being tracked on our website. So if you want to check that you've installed it correctly, use this Chrome extension and then you can see. So once that's installed, you then basically continue. You copy and paste it, you then go continue, and you'll see it will take you to, you can leave this, you can go done. Now, once you've done that, it'll load like this. You'll have an overview. Obviously, I haven't installed this code on any site, but for example, after 30 minutes, sometimes it can take a bit longer, you'll then get your first activity here, and that way you know it's working. In order to set events, and the events we're going to want to set up for this sort of ad setup is going to be page views. We want to know the people that have viewed the page, okay? So what you want to do is come to test events on your data set. You're going to type in the URL, go test events, and then it's pretty self-explanatory. It takes you to the site, and you just got to wait, and there's a setup tool where you just click you either choose page view and then you just type in the page that you're on, the URL, and that way it's going to track that. Or you can click a button if you want to track a button that someone's clicked. For example, it might be book now. You can track the people that click that button, and in essence, you're then tracking the people who have gone to the booking page. I normally just do it through the page view and page URL because it's pretty, I don't know, it's hard to mess up. So literally all you do here is type in your URL, go test events, and then once that's done, you can come back, wait, and then in order to know that it's working, if we go to overview, I'll just show you an example, you'll be able to see I have my different pages and it will show you the total events for the last sort of however long. Okay, these are new landing pages, new booking links, hence the reduced numbers. Anyway, so then you have an understanding of, we've got these different data sets and they're tracking the different places. So that's number one for the website, how you install it. For URL Genius, it's super simple. All we're doing is we are creating a link and then we're taking the ID. So you would create a data set that I've obviously called URL Genie YouTube links. Okay, I'm taking that ID number there, I'm going to URL Genius, and then in my link, you can see I've got here my bio link. All I'm doing is I'm pasting that in here and I'm choosing view content. Okay, and then once you've saved that, after a while, this will start filling up with the people that have clicked that link. Okay, so that is those first 2. And again, these apply for a lot of different things, so it should cover all bases. And then in terms of your booking page, I use Calendly. Obviously, if you have a landing page, again, it's just gonna be installing that code underneath the header of whatever the page is. If you use something like Calendly, they have a native integration. So literally all I do is I go Metapixel, I click on Metapixel, I go manage integration, and again, I just paste in the Metapixel ID there. And then you can check and it will start filling up the data sets. Okay, so that is step 1, is actually building out the data sets that you want to track. Now that we have some data, what we want to do is create the custom audiences based off of these. So what we do is we go to audiences. Okay, so once you're in audiences, all you're going to need to do is go create audience, go custom audience. Okay, now the 2 different options for basically every custom audience that I've mentioned that you should be building is literally Instagram account or website. Okay, so if I go Instagram account, you'll see what I can do, and I'm just going to show you. I'm not actually going to go and do it, but it should be pretty self-explanatory. First, I'm going to click on the account that I want to track, my Instagram account, and then we've got the different types of audience that we want. So for example, you want to do people who have engaged with any post or ad. Again, we're going to do 30 days, and then you just want to give it a name so that you know what that audience is, okay? Likewise, we're going to do people who have visited. So this is the profile visits. Again, you're going to do 1 day, okay? So we're going to target the people who have visited our profile in the last day. Again, you're going to name them, give them a description so you know what they are, okay? Then we've got people who engage with this account. So this is engagers across the board, whether that's content or ads, it doesn't matter. Again, we're going to create profiles and audiences for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Obviously, you guys have got the doc in the description of this video, so follow that along and create each of those audiences. It's pretty self-explanatory in terms of what the events are. You're just going to pick the one that it is, so people who visited, and then you're going to choose the time frame for how long you want to track that for. Give it a name, give it a description, okay? And that gives you all of the ones that are related to your Instagram account. And as you can see, I've got all of the different ones: Samson, IG, profile visit, 30 day, 10 day, 1 day, and you'll see that they start populating with how many people are in that audience. Now, the next set of audiences, so if we're looking at the ones that we want to track with the metapixel, again, custom audience, let's go website, and this will pull up all of our metapixels. So you'll see we can choose our different sources. So for example, I can choose my Calendly booking page. I can choose my URL Genie YouTube clicks, okay? I can choose my landing page views. So for example, if I wanted to track all of the people on my Calendly booking page, once I have set up that integration with Calendly, I simply come here, create audience, and I can go all website visitors. I can go people who visited specific web pages. For example, I can choose the URL of my booking page, or I can do it for a specific event, depending on how you want to do it. For me, I have multiple events running at all the same time, so I just want to track all of them, and I can just do all website visitors. So that just means any Calendly booking page that you have, and you can choose, for example, in the last 30 days, 60 days. I would normally do in the last 7 days, depending on like how long you let people book in advance, because normally they'll maximum be 7 days in between when someone books for me and when I actually take the call and I want to hit those people with the testimonials. So again, we're going to choose the time frame, give the audience a name, give it a description so that we know. Okay, we also would do the exact same for the landing page. For example, all website visitors, or we can do a specific page view. Okay, and again, you're just typing in the URL. So that is in essence how you build all of the custom audiences, and once that's set up, they should look somewhat like this, where you have a list of all of the different audiences that are warm, and they will start filling up. The more traffic you produce, the more these are going to be viable for using for ads. And once you have them set up here, give them some time, they'll populate, and then you can actually use them in your campaigns and target them with specific ads that are, I guess, more catered to the specific person and the situation they're in. So in essence, that is the step-by-step in terms of setting up your paid ads. Obviously, I have all of the audiences here that you would want to set up. Once those are set up, I'm going to link another video at the end of this which walks you through actual ad setup, but I've got breakdowns here in terms of how you would want to set up, in terms of how many ad sets, how many creatives, the numbers you should be looking for, etc. And to give you guys an idea of like scaling and what that actually looks like, here's an audience, here's an example as well. So for example, you choose 3 to 5 audiences. So these might be some broad, some retargeting, and what you're doing is we're figuring out what is the best audience. We want to use the same creatives in every ad set. So this is to test the audience on its own and not test the creatives. And the goal is really, we want to find the winning audience, we want to find the winning creative, pair those together. That brings magic, and then from there we can just focus on hitting the people with retargeting ads. We've got the numbers that you want to be measuring. Obviously, it's going to be cost per profile visit, it's going to be click-through rate, it's going to be ROAS, it's also going to be cost per qualified follower. Like, if I give you guys a little tip in terms of figuring out qualified followers, what you have to do is hover over the amount of profile visits. In Facebook Ads Manager, there's no way of extracting the data like normally. You have to hover over and you'll be able to see from those amount of profile visits that we're getting, how many follows are we getting, and then obviously you just do how much have I spent on ads divided by the amount of followers. And the reason you want to have an understanding of that is because oftentimes I've had ads where the profile visit costs considerably less. For example, I had one campaign I was running 2 campaigns at a time. One of them was giving me profile visits for like 17p. Another one was giving me profile visits for 11p. And from like a bird's eye view, you would think, oh, stick with the one that's 11p. But then when I actually looked at how many followers they were getting, my cost per qualified follower for the one that was a profile visit of 0.11p was actually much higher. And so I actually had to turn that one off. So even though it seems more expensive, I was actually getting much better results. So that's always something to be cautious of. But as a whole, the purpose with this strategy is that we're targeting warm people, and that you bring traffic in order to fill up the estimated audience size. And the bigger audience size you have of warm people, the more people that, you know, are very much on the fence, and those are the people where you should be going to collect cash long before you start chucking your offer in front of completely unaware people, okay, and completely cold people. This is what people with that get wrong with ads, is they start running ads towards people who have no idea who they are and expect them to convert like that overnight, right? You're only going to get quick conversions and quick cash flow if you're targeting people who are already at the bottom of awareness, right? They're already problem aware, they're already solution aware. They were this close to booking, and now they're getting hit with this final ad that says, look, here's what I did for someone else, I know you're on the fence. And that way you deal with people who are high quality, actually know about your offer, and when they hop on a call, they're much more likely to convert by implementing all of this. So I hope that was helpful. Obviously, check out the guide below if you're stuck on anything, and any questions or anything you think I missed, please let me know in the comments. And if there is anything, I will try and cover it or just reply to you directly. I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye.